Hi and welcome back to EJC Virtual Church Instrument for Change. My name is Audale Martin, and today we'll be continuing from our last session dealing with major scales, interval, and chords. We're now going to look back at some of the things we did, and today we'll be adding on top of that. So you can always check the session from before to see what was done. Today we'll be digging a little bit more into that session I had with Kaiden Evering, one of my students, a 7-year-old who is pretty amazing at this age. Due to a lot of practicing, well, Kaiden doesn't practice that much, but due to some good amount of practicing with his brother and so forth. All right, so I'm going to start with a small, relative practice routine that you can use to help to solidify some of the stuff that we learn here in Audale sessions or Orange sessions or Elder Bailey session. So we're starting with some major scales. I'll just go through a few quickly, very slowly. C major scale. I'm going to do 2 octaves. I believe everybody knows what an octave is. That's 1 octave. Here's the next octave. When I'm playing the scale, I'm not just listening to the notes. I'm listening to the distance between the notes in terms of how long before I play the next one. I try to make those equal, which would give us a steady time. Also, the volume. If I'm playing this one soft or this very loud, and then so I'm not just playing because fingers can touch keys. I'm intentionally trying to play everything at the same speed and touch on each note, which give you that same volume right throughout. Well, I just speed it up just now for the video's sake. Let's go to our next one. I don't have a metronome with me right now, but it's good to use a metronome to ensure that you're with the click. Right? So you have a metronome, up on your phone or the actual metronome, and you use that to make sure you're steady, or you can double the time. So if the metronome is at, you can play at da 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 da. Sorry. Right here. Right. So continuing. So I've practiced with the metronome a good amount of times, and so I'm able to be able to play steady all by myself, right? So not jumping off the time, or that's required for when you're playing music with a singer or by yourself. Or it give you that inner pulse, so you're able to, play around the time and play out of the time, on the time, right before the click, or after the click, or little bit, push and pull, and you get all that variation in terms of rhythm, which we can do a lot with rhythm, as opposed to, just chords. There's chords, and there's a lot you can do with rhythm. So we practice the scale like that. Or we can practice 5-finger techniques, playing steady, or we can mix them up. In this case, a C major scale C, E, D, F, E, G. I'm ensuring that each finger is covering a note. And if you look at how my fingers are, they're not like this. Sometimes I play like this, depending on the type of sound I want, because the way how you set your fingers can give you a certain sound. But in this case, a tennis ball could go under here based on, curvature. A ball could go here, and I play with that. It's a natural position, when you release your hand tension, there's no tension. You just put that right there, right? And that's what we're playing with. And the fingers aren't like this, doing stuff, because it takes time for it to come back down, and it takes time, and that's a lot of energy being wasted. So we slowly, it's hard at first, but we train ourselves. One way to train yourself is just to hold down the notes and slowly lift up random fingers and try to keep the rest, and so forth. Or hold down notes, keep them hold down, and press the note that you lift up, keep down the rest. It will definitely show you which finger is weak. This is the weakest finger naturally, the fourth finger. It doesn't have independence by itself. I think it borrows from the third and the fifth. And then there is the pinky. But that's a good practice. And practice that for 5 minutes straight. I promise you. Right after that, you feel that independence in the finger. You feel the independence right away. All right, so that's a good practice. You can use both hands and do it very slow. Just a reminder that the fingering that we use for major scales that start on white keys is 1, 2, 3, under, 1, 2, 3, under. Continue at the pinky. A little distracted there. 1, 2, 3, then we go under. 1, 2, 3, under. And all fingers naturally come back into position. Right? And the same procedure coming back down. And that will give you the fingering for all the white keys. So that's C major scale, D major scale, E major scale, F major scale. F major scale will end on the fourth finger. F, G, finger 1 on F, finger 2 on G, finger 3 on A, finger 4 on B flat. We go right back to finger 1 on C, finger 2 on D, finger 3 on E, and finger 4 on F. It just naturally come out that way. And then we continue G major, A major, B major, and then C major. In next class, we'll look into the other fingerings for the black keys. So that's the same fingering we use right throughout for all the white keys. In the left hand, pinky now is finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4, finger 5, 1. Let's go at C. Finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4, finger 5. So all the fingers right there. And then we go over to the third finger. Bring back the fingers. And the same position, same curved position. If we don't do that, we may make a mistake like this and have a finger up in the air like that. We may make that mistake, but we want each finger to have a note for itself. Alright, and then we go A, B, C. So when we put them together, it looks like this. C, D, E, F. So this will take some processing for those who have been practicing scales together. Let's go again. C, D. So the right hand goes under at this point. Left hand still continues up. Everything comes back over for the right hand, so the right hand isn't doing anything new after. Continuing. Then the third finger now comes over at A. it's important to note where the fourth fingers, finger 4, or these fingers right here, because finger 4 is different for each, So these fingers, it's important to note where they fall in the scale. In the left hand, it will always fall on the second note in the scale. In this case, a D. So even if you go up 2 octaves, the fourth, that finger right here would always, in this case, the second finger in the left hand, will always fall on D. Right? Because that finger is a tricky finger, so we just need to know where it is. In the right hand, it will be on B, the 7th of the scale, right? So that fourth finger here falls on the 7th of the scale. In the left hand, it will fall on the second note in the scale, right? So it's always important to note that. So when we're playing an octave and going to the other, all we do is just bring the thumb under to start the same process again. When you're finishing now, you just use the pinky. Otherwise, you just continue up with the thumb. Oh, we're not seeing that part. If you're finishing, finish with the pinky, but if you're going to continue, we just bring back the first finger and continue. And continue, right? At this point, we're going to take a break, but that's it there. If we should take the time out to understand all of what was said, we would cover a lot of material in terms of major scale. There are 12 notes. You'll cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major scales right away. Hopefully you understand key signatures or the tetrachord formula to finding major scales. When we're back, I'll just give some brief information on the tetrachord that will help us to find the major scales. Take a break now.
The next person in line, your friend at school or your co-worker, may have COVID-19 and not know because they have no symptoms. You, on the other hand, could be hospitalized for 2 months or more if you become infected. Is it worth it? Stay socially connected, but keep the physical distance. Stay 6 feet away and avoid a hospital stay. COVID-19 is not over. Protect yourself while protecting others. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The point of wearing a mask is to prevent the spread of air droplets from persons who may or may not be infected. When wearing a mask, please ensure that the mask goes above the nose and below the chin. This might be a bit uncomfortable, but it's for your own safety. The position of the mask is very important. It should not be worn on your forehead, under your chin, or on your neck. Please do not remove the mask when speaking. This actually causes more droplets to be released into the atmosphere. Trust me, if you have on a mask, we will still hear you. When you're removing a mask, try not to touch the front of the mask. If you do, remember to wash your hands or use hand sanitizer. Please throw away the mask appropriately. Remember, partial protection is better than no protection.
1, and we're back, and we're right at the tetrachord right now. So the tetrachord is basically a formula to finding our major scale, right? Any major scale. If you know your key signatures, you can work through it that way as well. But there's a next way by just simply using a tetrachord. Now you can see a W here, a S there, double S, double. It simply just means whole tone. The W stands for whole tone. Whole tone. And the S stands for semitone, right? And the whole tone is basically where is a distance of a tone, right? So we have C, and there's a black key right beside C. That's a semitone. That's the note right beside C. Not the next white note, but the exact note behind C, beside C. So it would be C to C sharp. That's a semitone. Here's a tone note, so that's the notes right beside each other. Many persons mix up the next note beside C to be D. That's the next white note, but the next right beside it is C sharp. C to C sharp. Here's C to D. That's a tone, right? So the semitones that you'd find in the major scale, in this case C, D, E, F, is at the 3rd and the 4th, and the 7th and the 8th. So then, we can just number these right here. So that's that word, tetrachord. I'm going to just move it. That's a tetrachord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hopefully you can see my handwriting. So 3 and 4, you will always have a semitone. 7 and 8, always have a semitone. It's important to always remember this because in some keys, the semitone will be between a black key and a white key, right? In C, the semitones are 2 white keys, right? So here we have C to D, which is a whole tone. So between note 1 and note 2, that's a whole tone. So that's the first whole tone. Your second whole tone gives you E and F, 3 to 4, and then, I'm sorry, 2 to 3, 2 to 3, D to E. And then your semitone is E to F. Then you have a whole tone, which is F to G, whole tone G to A, whole tone A to B. So if we use a next scale, if we should just rub out C, all of C stuff, the C stuff. Let's get that out there. C. Let's put D major. And one thing to note about the scales, it's always in alphabetical order. So you can just, if you want to write a D major scale, write from D to the next D up the top in alphabetical order. It's that simple. So D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So those are the notes. Naturally the notes fall into position in alphabetical order. All scales are in alphabetical order. If you're playing a scale and you cannot find the alphabetical order and using funny letters, then the scale is wrong, right? On paper it's wrong. The sound may sound correct, but if you say D and then you say, what's the next name for D? You say D double sharp. That's a thing actually, D double sharp, which is the same thing as an E. You have in 2 Ds right there, right? You can't say D and then D double sharp. Even though it sounds the same, but it's theoretically on paper wrong and a bit harder to assess in the mind. All right, so it's alphabetical order. Every scale. So if you say from B major, if you want to play a B major scale or say the notes, naturally it's B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. From F, F, G, A, will come after A. B, C, D, E, F. On A major scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Right? So it's just in alphabetical order. However, where you put the sharps and flats is what changed the tonality to a major scale. Right? But in a C tonality, well, this is a D major scale, but in a C tonality, there's no sharps or flats. So in this key, we have, I'm going to play a D. D, D. So that's a D. Then we have a E. But in this case, we have a F, which should be a F sharp, F. But we want the F sharp, which makes it major. So we just change that, which naturally E to F is a semitone. But we know it should be a tone, so we have to change it to a F sharp. Right? You can just pause the video and check to see if E to F sharp is an actual tone, which it is an actual tone. Can't trust me there. And then F sharp to G, F sharp, G is a semitone. Right? Which, as I said, that black key to white key right there. Black key to white key will always be a semitone. A, B. This is flat. C, C sharp. Right? So C sharp give you that major sound, and then D, which is C sharp to D is that semitone. Anyway, so that, let the curve thing, I'm just making that to a semitone. Right there, semitone, semitone. And if you use that formula on any note, you will get a major scale starting at any note. And then you practice that major scale until the letters are solid in the mind. So we want a B major scale will be B. We know it will be the alphabet C, but in this case a C sharp, or B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. So you may not know the sharps, but at least get the alphabetical order correct first. Once we get that right, then we can always put in the sharps or the flats. So in a F major scale, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. So nobody should have any problem with major scales. You don't have to really know all the key signatures to say know your major scales. Just use this formula: whole tone, semitone, whole tone, semitone. 2 whole tones in a semitone, 3 whole tones in a semitone, and that's the tetrachord formula to finding major scales. All right, so major scales out. Now we're going to move on to inversions. I'll come back to intervals. We're going to go to inversions with chords. And as we said the last session, chords are just 3 notes played at the same time, right? Any 3 notes, but we want to use a specific set of 3 notes that sound sensible for a chord, right? Interval is the distance between 2 notes. So interval is 2 notes. So technically, when we say the soprano and the alto is harmonizing, it's not really a harmony. We need 3 notes for harmony. It is just the distance between, but we can just call it harmony. But really and truly, harmony is talking about 3 notes or more. But it's an interval. The interval, it sounds harmonious, soprano and alto singing. We describe it to be harmonious, but it's really 2 intervals moving against each other or complementing each other. All right. So we're going to chords now. And we just use the simple structure of C major chord. So we start C major chord. Clearly, C is the root of the chord. So the root is saying, this is the name of this chord. Here is the 1 of this chord. Here is the strongest tonality of the chord, right? So a C major chord, C, E, G, C, E, G, C, E, G. This sound like 1, C, sounds like the 1. This don't sound like the 1, this don't sound like the 1, C. Right, so that's what we're going to call the root because it's the basis of everything, right? It's the fundamental of the chord, right? So let's put that out. C, E. Can find me a marker, Roy, please? C, E, G. And that's our root position chord. Root position simply because the root is the lowest note right now. The lowest note right now is C, meaning it's what is at the beginning of the chord. How we number the chords? We say 1, 3, 5, right? 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. I hope you're following with me. Anywhere we rearrange the notes, C is still 1, E is still 3, and G is still 5. So if and why 1, 3, 5? If we look at it, the chords set up like this. If C is 1, then D is 2. So we're skipping 2 and we're going to 3, right? We're skipping 4 and we're going to 5. If we should do the same thing starting on D, let's say D is now 1. We're not thinking about C major scale. We're just looking in terms of alphabetical order. D is 1. If D, it sounds like algebra or something. If D is 1, what is F? 3. If F is 3, what is A? 5. Right, so it's like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's, and so forth. So that's the basis. So C in this case, in a C major chord, it always be 1. E will always be 3. G will always be 5. So don't ever get that mixed up. If I rearrange these notes now, it's no longer in root position because the root is no longer the lowest note. I'll put the C at the top. C, not G, C. And I put the 1 here. It's still a C major chord, right? But I've changed the inversion or rearranged the notes in such a way that the C is the note that you would hear at the top. In this position where C was here, it was C, E, G. G would be the highest note, but in this position, it's E, E, G, C. C is at the top now, right? But C is still 1. C is still the root of the note of the chord, sorry. But in this inversion of the chord, we call it first inversion because the third is the lowest note in the chord. The third is now the lowest note. So root position is not an inversion. It is just root position. The next inversion is first inversion because it's the first inversion. It's the first time inverting the chord. And so it so happens the first time you invert the chord, the third is the lowest note in the chord, right? So let me just put C, E, G up here. C, E, G. That's the root position. This is root position. And then I'll put a next arrange, what am I looking for? G, C, E, right? So G, C, E. is now second inversion, where we have the fifth as the lowest note. What's this? The first, and here's the third. Here's the third, right? So now these are the inversions we'll find. And why 3 inversions? Because we have 3 notes. We can't have 4 inversions if we have 3 notes. So we can officially, let's just call it officially speaking, rules are there are many ways really to play a chord, but officially speaking, these are the 3 ways to play a 3-note chord, inverting it 3 times, right? So C, E, G to be root position, and then this here is first inversion. And our singers will do this in different songs here in the choir. We sing a Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, and the choir director say invert, and some people think it means to raise the key or is something out of this world that you can't sing. It just means to switch your note. Whatever the soprano was singing, now the alto will sing it, and whatever the tenor was singing, now what the alto was singing, now the tenor will sing. So it kind of go up or it flip down. It's just rearranging the notes. That's inversion. So when you invert the chord, please, choir, and some people probably still sing the same note because they don't know what inversion is. So that's your root position, first inversion, second inversion. Second inversion, right? And in the second inversion, the fifth is the lowest note. The fifth is the lowest note. In first inversion, the third of the chord is the lowest note, and in root position, the 1 is the lowest note, right? First inversion in a context of a C chord. The first inversion is EJC. Second inversion GCE, right? So you can look at the beginning of the chord to see what is at the beginning, or you can, whichever one you want to look at to see what is where to say. All right, so in root position, the fifth is at the top. In first inversion, the first is at the top. In second inversion, the third is at the top. Let's go to the keyboard and try out this stuff. All right, so root position. Here is root position. C, E, G, right? C, E, G. We actually dealt with this last week, but I'm just ensuring that we all understand it completely. So C, E, G, which is root position. On the board, we have that. Root position, here's the 1, here's the 3, here's the 5, right? We could say that's the same in the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we can even look at fingers and say this is finger 1, this is finger 3, this is finger 5, right? Finger 1, which is the middle, the thumb. Finger 3, middle finger, finger 5, the pinky, right? So that's C, E, G. Now we invert it. Let's go to first inversion. First inversion, we will simply put this C at the top, right? So our pinky will play in the C at the top now, like this. Note the fingers that I also use, finger 1, finger 2, and finger 5. Reason being, some people prefer finger 3, but as you're moving chords around, suppose you want to go to an F chord, it would be easier because F, I soon get there. We're getting there. So finger 1, finger 2, finger 5. This is first inversion, right? First inversion simply means that the third is the lowest note. The third is the lowest note. And in second inversion, I'm going to now put the E at the top. Here's G, here's C, here's E. Second inversion, the lowest note. Second inversion, the lowest note is G, right? And back to root position. So clearly we only have those amount of inversions. We have three ways to play the chord because we have 3 notes. And it starts over again at root position, then first inversion, second inversion, back to root, and so forth. It continues. Right? All right, so that's inversions. What if we use, so let's just look at, before I go there, just to note, wherever you play the notes, it doesn't matter. So for example, if I'm playing a C chord, again, C chord here, what if I put this C chord in its root position in my right hand, and in my left hand I play a G? This is no longer a root position chord because the lowest note is actually a G. So this is now first inversion. even though I'm playing a root position chord in my right hand. But the lowest note that you hear is, it sounds like you want to go somewhere, right? So the lowest note is in my left hand. And so when we're figuring out chords, we figure chords from the left hand going up. We don't figure from the right hand going down. And, you know, very advanced people who know chords already will just look at the fingers and say, oh, you're playing that. But when we're trying to figure out stuff, we want to start from the left hand, because the left hand defines or tell us what is happening with the inversions, or the lowest note rather tell us what's happening with the inversions, or what's the name of the chord, or the type of quality, major, minor, diminish, augmented. So this here is a C chord in second inversion, simply because I have a G in the bass, right? If I now put an E in the bass, which is the third of the chord, even though I'm playing a root position in my right hand, it's now first inversion chord, right? So depending on the lowest note between the left and right hand, so let's look at that as a one-hand structure, right? So I'm playing a root. Let's play second inversion in my right hand and a C in my left hand. It's a root position chord because the lowest note that we're hearing is a C, which is the root of the chord. So regardless of what I do with my right hand, unless I let go of that bass and just do this, then I'll say these are different inversions that I'm root, first inversion, second. But if I'm playing a C bass and moving inversions like this, officially I'm still playing root position because the lowest note you're hearing is a C over these C chords. I hope that's clear, right? And if I do the same thing with an E in the bass, Roy, is that clear, Roy? Okay, Roy, get it. Everybody get it. Right? So I'm playing an E in the bass. That's now first inversion. Regardless of me doing this, I'll just look at this as now fancy stuff. You know? Let me see. My maker and my king. I don't go to the 1, I go to the 3. And I do this. It's really fancy stuff, but it's really first inversion. It's just playing broken chords, the same C chord, and I'm just breaking it up over that E bass. It's still first inversion, right? If I have the 5th in the bass now, and I put second inversion. So I hope that's really clear, right? And now with that, it's important what the lowest note is. It can change the color of how we play our songs, our chords, or anything really. Inversions are very important, and a lot of times people don't give credit to using inversions because they like a specific sound in just the root position. It may work well for real. It may work well, but moving around inversions always make things sound much more melodic, right? If I'm walking down, I don't want to do, right? I can do. Sorry. I don't want to just play root position as go. What if I do? I'm just inverting the chords while playing a melody in between. The same C major chord. And I can go. So inversions are really nice and it gives you more vocabulary. All right. Let's take simple chords within a C major scale frame. C, and I'm just moving up in the scale like this. Just like that. That's root position. Root position sounds nice. But what if I can get in some inversions, right? What if I can get in some inversions? So let's say I play second inversion, which is now the 5th is the lowest note here, G, C, E. But what if I put that 5th take it out of the right hand, now I'm playing 2 notes in the right hand, which is just C and E, and put the 5th down here, right? We can do like that. And move the chords up like this. It's a completely different color. You may ask, what are the other notes you're playing? All I'm doing is moving the thirds moving the notes up. So I played C, E, G. I take the C and rather the G and put it at the bass in my left hand and kept the first and the third in my right hand, and I just moved them up in the scale of C. You hear that difference? It give a different sound. What if I bring everything down to the first inversion, right? Something sounds strange. First inversion in C, we have the E as the lowest note. I'm playing an E up here. So I want to make sure I'm playing all the notes at some point. So I'll not play this E anymore, I'll play a G, right? Let's try moving this way now. So really nice. Inversions. And if we understand how to use inversions, when we're reading the hymns, we see a lot of inversions. And sometimes it's like, what's this chord? Because the lowest note is saying a C, but really and truly the chord is a F because there's a C in a F chord, F, A, C, but they have a C in the bass, but they have a F chord, and that's a second inversion. Or probably want to pedal this, so you're like, you're moving. So the inversions can get really tricky. So people think inversions, oh, so all right, cool, inversions. But it really can get a lot of stuff out of inversions. All I'm pedaling is a C. And all of these chords are something in context to C. They may not be in C as a C major scale. So I'm playing a lot of inversions here, right? So back to what we were doing. I can play a C, E, G, omit the third, and put it at the bass. That's a first inversion chord. That's really nice. What if I practice chords like that? That's a whole different world. So I practice a C chord, C, E, G, I omit the third and I put it at the bass. Right? What if I try that with an F chord? Let's move to an F chord like that. Sounds really nice. I'm going to put it in something that musicians like to do, it move chords in fourths. So C, D, E, F. C to F is a fourth, perfect fourth. Where would be the next fourth? F, G, A, B flat. B. I'm going to move it around so you can hear what it sounds like. So I took one inversion, first inversion, and I moved to C, to F, to B flat. Why did I move to B flat, E flat? Why are you moving to B flat and E flat? You said fourths, or you get out of the C major. Let's just check that real quick on the board. Okay, so in the context of a C major scale, we know that C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, right? So that's the first interval of a 4. Interval is the distance between two notes. So C to F is a distance of 4 notes within the major scale. So the next fourth would be, let's assume F to be 1 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But this is not a perfect fourth, actually. It has to be a perfect fourth. This is an interval we call a tritone. But we have to flatten this note to get a fourth, because in the key of F, in that major scale, there would be a B flat here. To get F, G, A, and to get that semitone, A to B flat is a semitone. Here's a 3 and a 4. Oh, wow, 3 and a 4 right there, right? So that's how we get to that B flat. And that means I will take B flat now as 1. Oh, B flat, C, D, E, F. Remember, everything is still in alphabetical order. So now I'm going to assume B flat to be 1. B flat, B flat, B flat. B flat, I was off by a tone. B flat, C, D, 1, 2, 3. And as the tetrachord tells us, 3 to 4 will always be a semitone, but D to E is a tone. So we need to flatten this. So 1, 2. So that's why I was moving like this. C, F, B flat, E flat. And from E flat, add some more notes. After F, we have G, A, B, C. So E flat, F, G. So assuming E flat to be 1 again, 2, 3, 4. G to A is a tone, so we're going to flatten this. And that's how I got A flat, right? But I already know C, fourth, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, F sharp, B, E, A, D, G, C. I know the fourths already, so I sat down and worked this out and know it for myself, which is to practice, to also write down stuff, not only on the keyboard. All right, I'm rushing because we have to take a break. We'll continue right after this break.
It seems as if I'm always in the kitchen, but I promise you that I'm not. No, I don't spend 24 hours in the kitchen. But here it is, I'm making some vegetable broth from scratch. I know earlier in the week I made some steamed vegetables, and especially with the cabbage and the pop chow. I was about to throw the ends away, and I'm like, no, Kenisha, don't do that. Remember, you could make some vegetable broth with this. Like, you can find other use for this awesome thing. And you know, that's the same thing with our gifts and our talents. We tend to think there's only one way that we can use them. But no, there are different ways to use one thing over and over. 1 Corinthians 12 verses 5 through 6 says, there are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in every one, it is the same God at work. So don't think that there's only one way that you can use those awesome gifts and talents for God.
And we're back with inversions. All right, so please recap slowly what was done before. I'm going to take some examples of inversions and play through some hymns to see the colors that we can get out of these hymns. And inversions, based on how you play them, can sound very emotional or very strong or very, well, emotional. That is sad, happy, what have you. Based on the inversions you use, it really can lighten your spirit or dampen your spirit. Inversions can do that. Not just the quality of chords, if it sounds too big or too small, but inversions can really change your emotions. All right, let's try using some inversions. I'll keep it in context of what we learn. I'll try to do that. So I'll play in C. That also means I'll play in C. Let's take joyful, joyful, for instance. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee. So the melody starts on the third, which is E. So it's going up, E, F, G, and comes back down to the 1, but in the correct rhythm. So if it starts on the third, more likely the chord here is 1. But I'm arranging or inverting the chord using the right notes in the right places to get a full C major chord. So what I do is play the melody. I try to keep the melody at top at all times. If possible, I try to do that. E, and if the E is at the top, this is a second inversion chord, at least from right-hand perspective. The moment I add the lowest note in my bass, it may change the chord. Right? So in this case, I'm playing G, C, E. G, C, E, right? I'm going to take the C out and put it down here. So in my right hand, I'm playing 2 notes. And in my left hand, I add the C here. So I'm playing 3 notes completely, which is a chord. But I separate, I shift them so I can play both of them between hands. Right? It sounds different from, and here is. So I'm moving the chords like that. So the chords I'm going to be using is a C chord, a D chord, not a D major chord or D. It is just based on the major scale. So the notes won't go outside the major scale. A D major chord has a F sharp. In the key of C, we have a F. So I'm keeping the notes in context. So when I play a D chord, I'm keeping in context of a C major scale. These are the chords we're going to use. So I'm using 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord. I may use the F chord, 4 chord, or the 5 chord. So here's I'm going to change this. I don't like this B right here. I say B, in this case I'm playing an E, G, B. So if you pause the video, go up from C to D. This is E, G, B in an inversion. Right? So I'm going to change that B to a C. So it changed to a whole C chord. You hear it lift? Right? So here, instead of, I'm going to do, right? Inversions. And it's simple triads, meaning 3-note chords, right? This is not in the scale, but there are the other colors. I'm using an E major chord, but there are other colors. Let's keep it in the scale. It would normally go to. You can resolve like that. Resolve mean give a little tension and then you resolve it. So I did. You're right. Or I can go. But if I'm going to, play it a little bit more, I'll probably, invert stuff quickly. So I do. I'd probably invert a C chord real quick like that. Yeah. And then meet by the melody. Sorry. Sorry. I could pedal the one. Pedal mean the one that I keep one. It builds a nice tension. But for practicing purpose, or just to get the chords really pat, we slowly, just like in the beginning, we slowly practice our scales. Nothing is wrong with slowly doing stuff. We want to hurry and do stuff. Sometimes it's nice to slowly do it and see what we're really playing. It's really good. And once you get it, one day you come and you just play it all of a sudden. One day you just come and you just realize, I actually know this stuff, which gives you the confidence to play it in real time faster. So I'm just moving around inversions. want to change to a next 3-note chord but out the key. So you can practice your inversions like this. And then move to the D chord, root position, invert them down, and then invert, invert, G chord, A chord, B chord, C chord. And they try to split them between hands. Take first inversion to start with. So you have C, E, G, remove the C, the E rather, put it in the bass, and move the C chord like that. And then move to the D chord. E, F, sorry, G, B, is G? A. And then the B, how would this be? Right. Where am I playing? Right, sorry. Sometimes when I'm thinking about this stuff, overthink them. Just play them. That's how I work. I just play stuff. But when you're practicing, you don't want to just play stuff. When you're playing, you just play stuff. But when you're practicing, you want to know exactly what you're doing. Right? And so we have come to the end of this class. So I'll just play you out. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Join us tomorrow evening for Oh Give Thanks with Pastor Michael Lewis and the dynamic team. We look forward to seeing you at 7:30 p.m. sharp. A blessing awaits you.